Good evening, guys. Welcome to the show. Welcome to I Want to Believe's. It's not an orbit, it's dust. Myself, Peter Wren, with the lovely Lynda, Trevor, and Kathy's somewhere. There's Kathy. Kathy's having technical
Can
problems.
you guys hear me?
Oh, perfect. That's good. That's good. So yeah, if you like the show, please subscribe to the channel and click on notifications. Greatly appreciated. So how have you got? Oh, Kathy's gone. Okay. How's your week been, Lynda?
It's been really good, but it's been really hot. I mean, really hot. So yeah, lots of water. But it's been a good week. Good week. Work's been great. Everything's good, thankfully. So long may that continue.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I was talking to Trevor online last week, and it got to 43 here on Tuesday last week.
That's so hot.
We got this week, like today's been 37, and I've just been in my basement, like this basement for probably most of the day. Even, like the air conditioning can't keep up. It's like trying to keep up with it, but it's too much. And you go in the pool, and it's like jumping in the warm bath. And the kids like it, but it gets a bit too much. Especially being English as well. We're not equipped for warm weathers and stuff like that. We prefer the rain and stuff. So anyway, how you been, Trevor? How's your week been?
Oh, it's been crazy. So last week I got my oldest daughter married off.
Oh, married off.
Yeah. She kicked her on out of here. So yeah, and we had to take a bunch of furniture across the state to they're getting ready to move into an apartment, and then we had a family reunion with my wife's family, and spent all day yesterday out at an amusement park in Utah called Lagoon, and so we did that and just got back home here an hour or two ago, and just some time to come and see all your smiling faces.
Oh, thank you. Compliments flying there. Kathy, welcome back. How
Thank
are you?
you. So I actually have to use data because my Wi-Fi for some reason is not working. So I apologize. So yeah, how are you guys doing? I'm doing good. It's really hot here. It's really hot here though.
Yeah, we've like I say, like just coping with the heat, but we actually it's funny because this weekend we were supposed to go to a historical site in BC, and we were going to film an episode of the show We Want to Believe, and a whole vast portion of it's going to be a narration of history, because there's a lot of there isn't much history in BC, but a lot went on in this one particular town. And anyway, we planned it months ago, and we were all gung-ho, ready to go, set off early on Saturday, and get an email from one of the curators of the museum saying, I didn't realize that you were ghost hunters, and I'm not interested in talk to ghost hunters. And I'm like, so I emailed him back very politely saying, did you read my original email I sent and stuff like that? And yeah, it kind of went pear-shaped, but we were like really looking forward to that. I mean, but then we went Sasquatch hunting just up the road from us. Fortunately, being in BC is Bigfoot capital of the world, so we went in the bush for about 4 or 5 hours, which is kind of nice. It was.
Did you catch anything?
No, just a few mosquito bites because they like the British blood, but that's about it. There was
the alcohol.
Yeah, no, I don't drink. We went with one of my investigators, Olivier, and he got one of these all bells and whistles drone, and we like spent a lot of time with that, and it's really cool. But I'm techless, I'm behind the technology and stuff like that. But yeah, we took it out and decided for fun and laughter to do a spirit box right in the middle of nowhere. We were probably about 14 kilometers, 7-8 miles from civilization, from the nearest town, and we were echoing through the spirit box, and obviously on AM, nothing, no radio stations or anything like that. And then we just got a man and a woman just coming forward, and it was all like we got their full name, we got there was a lot of yes nos to start off with, but
wow,
it's just weird, like that whole thing about how or why they're there and stuff like that. And it's just, we've had it before when we did one of our previous shows as well, in the middle of nowhere, and it just blows my mind. Like this is like right in the middle of nowhere. Like we literally went off road, and then we walked for probably the best part of just over a mile to get to where we were, and it was just like rattling on and stuff like that. But yeah, interesting.
Did you use any other equipment? Did you use any EMF or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I didn't use a voice recorder because we were at a part of a peak of the hill, and I didn't bring the muffler that goes on top of my Zoom 4, like the muffler to protect the wind and stuff like that. And I turned it on, and all you were getting was sound of wind and stuff like that. But I took 3 spirit boxes with me, and yeah, it was really interesting. So it was lots of fun and like it's actually nice to get out, and it wasn't that hot as well. So that was good. Nice.
I saw some pictures you posted. It looked beautiful. So
yeah, it's BC's like one of you know, there isn't a lot of pros living here sometimes, but it is beautiful. BC is a beautiful place for sure. It blows my mind some of how people that live here just take so much for granted, what's on their own doorstep and stuff like that. So it's cool. Anyway, this week, so who likes horror movies? Who likes horror movies? So
hesitantly.
Kind of. What makes you think that? Anyway, I'm going to play this clip for the audience.
A few months ago, my friend turned 40. He received one of those genealogy test kits. He found out he may be an heir to an estate. He contacted the attorney for the estate. He got a box with trinkets and old letters written in 1594. His daughter Avalon called me. She's scared. She thinks they are practicing witchcraft.
My father's been trying to get my mom, my brother, and me involved in this weird cult. My father wants to become a minister. He's studying these various ceremonies that he'll have to perform. It's making us practice with him.
Strange stuff, mostly from the men. Wife and kids pretend that nothing's going on, but I know better. Why else are they up almost every night between 11:30, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning?
Are you here to be reborn?
Yes.
Are you here to give yourself to your master?
Yes.
Are you pure of heart and body?
No.
What? You're not worthy to sit at my master's table!
Chicken boy, what you say the whole family is possessed?
I will have the life that is owed! I will have all of you!
Hey, look, it's the priest.
Oh, you got this taquito?
Wow,
that was awesome.
That was pretty intense for a Sunday afternoon, wasn't it?
You know, try as hard as I may, when I try to throw punches, I can never get my punches to make that cool sound. That I haven't figured that out yet.
It's like being at school watching Bruce Lee movies, wasn't it? that cackling.
That looked intense. It looked intense.
So the movie was called Demon Fighter, and it was released a few weeks ago. We have on the show Craig and David, co-managing partners for the CRA Entertainment. Let's bring them onto the show. Hi guys, welcome to the show.
Hi everyone.
How you doing?
Good. Welcome aboard. So great. Craig, I know you personally on Facebook. We've been kind of in loops for some time. You've been posting stuff on my social media page and stuff like that. Loved that the movie The Evil Down the Street. That was really good as well. So
thank you.
So tell us, Craig. Let's start with David. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm old, and let's see. That covers a whole lot of stuff.
You're in good company.
Yeah, and my story is I'm with him, so there you go.
It probably sums it up. I have a varied background, doing all kinds of different things in my life, and fortunately, I'm in a position now where I'm doing what I love doing, which is making films, acting, directing, writing, doing that sort of thing. It's been a long time coming. I've been working at it off and on for quite a few years. In between, I ran a few businesses, got a real estate license, went to law school, became a cop. I mean, I tell you, too many things going on to stay focused. Played music. I'm just a guy that's all over the place, but the good Lord found it in him to find some directional path for me, and led me to this young man, Craig Ahrens, and I was fortunate enough to be introduced to him, and he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Well, I was a Broadway showgirl for years. No, I was more seriously. I was a mortgage banker for 25 years, and 2007 hit, and I started back in 1983, and 2007 hit, and we were done in mortgage banking at the end of that year, and I pretty much was semi-retired to a limited extent, if you will. And long story short, a good friend of mine, who I didn't realize he's an actor, but that part I realized. I didn't realize he was also an acting coach, and he invited me to his acting academy and asked me to give it 90 days. Now you have to understand, from my mortgage banking background, that was a foreign area to me on a large scale. I don't have a 40-year career in this business like David had, nor do I have the degrees in education that David has in this industry. So I came in late in life, and in any later I would have been dead. So I started back in 2012, and then David and I we were introduced by a mutual friend. I had done a series of short films, and a gentleman by the name of Todd Chase. And so David and I spoke, just clicked when, it's certainly a God thing. And we just hit it off from jump. And the first film we made together was the one, Peter, that you had mentioned, Evil Down the Street. And we hadn't really met face to face until one day prior to the shoot. And so we did everything over the phone. So it's just, one of those odd things in life that defies logic or any rhyme or reason, all business principles you can throw out. And it's worked really well for us. And so yeah, that is the backstory.
Awesome.
So we're, kind of looking at, I was watching the preview to your show, the trailer, the fighter, and I was kind of curious. It looked, the scenes look pretty intense. They look pretty neat. I'm kind of curious on the wear and tear on the actors on that. We look at actors in different types of movies and how it affects them psychologically. Does filming a horror movie that intense take its toll?
I would say yes, it does. And I'll go back to the Evil Down the Street as a quick example. We had a number of incidents on the set there, and particularly at one location where the basement scenes were shot. It was at an old reform school in the high desert, about 100 miles from the location of the main set. And we just shot all the basement scenes there because it was this old, you saw the basement in the movie, and we really liked the location. But the place was really weird. There was a lot of strange noises, a lot of things going on. Our makeup artist got so scared she didn't want to come back on set and didn't want to shoot another film with us. There was
yeah.
I mean, how these things happen is not really something we look to achieve. We weren't going there looking for ghosts or spirits or anything else. We're shooting.
Yeah.
When Craig first went out and scouted this area, he sent back a video to me so that I could look at it. And this was in an abandoned house with a 2-room basement with no lighting coming in. And there's orbs. Now, whether somebody wants to get into that conversation or not matters not. There were orbs, and we're like, "What's this?" And then when we get on set, there's things that are going on, sounds that are sound guys recording of doors slamming, things happening in this huge environment. And then personally, it happened to me and the makeup artist. Scared the Jesus out of both of us. I was like, okay, this is weird. Where's everybody at? Finally, everybody showed up. They came. We shot the scene. We were out. And those are the scenes where Father Bob is in his office. That's where all that took place. But stuff happens. I mean, it happened on the main set. Tell them about that mirror, Craig. That
we were all upstairs shooting a scene, and downstairs was a large, what would you say, David? Something 4x8 mirror. It was big, and it was permanently affixed to the wall because we have cast and crew going there, and we were really concerned about the security of the mirror. And they said, "Oh, it's totally secure. It's basically bolted into the wall." So I thought, okay, well that's fine. So we were shooting a scene, and we heard this loud crash downstairs.
And we're upstairs.
And I looked at David and I thought, oh my gosh, what happened? Who's downstairs that we thought everybody was upstairs. So we went downstairs, and the mirror had slid down the wall, and that's what we had all heard. It wasn't shattered, thank God. And when the owner showed up later on that evening, they were shocked. They were in great spirits, thankfully. But they said, that's impossible. We had that thing basically bolted down. And, but yeah, it certainly came off the wall and was resting against the wall, because it would have been a really expensive mirror for us to have to replace. Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy. So do you think you maybe kind of, well, I'll say angered. I was going to use the PO word, but something that was already there.
Well, something strange about that house and these people. When we first got there, the lady was very nice to us, of course, and everybody was very hospitable towards us. However, she handed me a bunch of notes of what she thought we should do in shooting in her house. And of course, you know where those notes went. I did what I'm going to do anyway. We were shooting a scene inside their den in the library, and the actor who plays the husband father has to randomly go in there and just grab a book off the shelf. There's books everywhere. It's one wall full of books. And we were going to rehearse the scene first. We always do that. They know what they're doing. The actors are pretty good. So let's walk through it. We all know where our marks are, what we're doing. And he walks up and he grabs a book off the shelf and opens it up. And the book is about satanic worshiping. And this particular passage was about how to marry a demon.
What?
So we said, we're like, this is too weird. It's in the movie. If you watch the movie, you'll see that scene, because we shot the scene, and of course we used the same book. It just made sense, but we didn't plan any of that. We didn't plan for that. We didn't know that book was there. So there's weird things that happen on sets depending upon what you're doing. To get back to your question, I think at times energy that is focused on one particular thing manifests in other forms.
Oh, yeah.
So even though we're shooting a film and it's make-believe, you have to understand the actors are playing it as if it's not make-believe.
Yep.
Right.
They're hopefully that's the goal.
Yeah, ideally.
They play it for real. And from that, we have some sense of realism and participation by the audience through their experience. But stuff happens. Anyway.
Did you guys have any paranormal experience before all of these movies? Was this something that you were interested in, or is this something that you had experienced and that it persuaded you to create the movies?
Well, maybe I'll jump in and just take this first part of this, David. My dad's mom, my grandmother, Kathy, I was just raised around it. My grandmother used to consult with both her Ouija board and crystal ball. But
Okay.
the way, yeah, and also tarot cards, but not so much for the cards. So my experience wasn't one of the occult or anything really sinister. That
Right.
she and her next door neighbor, Dorothy Ryder, that they consulted and talked to their guides and their spirits. So at an early age, I was around it, but it wasn't, the presentation wasn't deep, dark, and satanic. And
Yeah.
that wasn't really what her intentions were. So at a very young age, I grew up around it, sure.
Yeah. Interesting. How about you, David?
Well, growing up, I don't know if you know what a curandero is. In the Hispanic culture, there's a brujo and a curandero. A curandero is a man of wisdom, of herbal medicines, has knowledge.
Kind of like a shaman, I guess, right? To
Yes,
some
like a
degree.
shaman in
Yeah.
the Native American cultures, like a shaman. Well, a brujo is more like a black magic sorcerer, like a witch. Okay. Now, my grandfather growing up was said to be a little bit of a combination of the two, and had been doing things, uh, kind of strange stuff, levitating tables. These were all stories I heard as a kid, and we were always told of all these spooky little stories. You know, we thought they were designed just to keep ourselves inside and huddled so we wouldn't run off, right? But I'm a very spiritual guy. I believe in God intensely, and it would be ridiculous for me not to believe in spirits, whether evil or otherwise. That just doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense for me. So energy for me is never ending. It's always conforming and adapting. It changes up, and as we are right now, just what six masses of energy projecting other energy at each other for various reasons. It matters not the reason. What's important, I think, that spirits are an energy for some reason. They won't leave. They stay around. They got unfinished business, or they're protective.
Right.
They're protective. I pray a lot when especially if I'm walking somewhere, and I feel at times that I'm being protected. It gives me a sense of strength and power, and even if it's just me in my head, so what? It's a very positive approach. We approach our filmmaking that way. Craig and I, everything that we put together, we try to embed in it not a ideology, philosophy, or theology of any sort, but a strength, or pardon me, a sense of truth, a sense of love, and we hope that people, when they watch our films, that if after they're entertained, it causes them to think a little bit.
Right.
And maybe they get a little informed about something, and perhaps that being informed will bring them to some type of understanding. Maybe they'll have, from that some clarity of mind about an issue. Who knows?
Right.
So that's our goal.
And all of what you described really is about faith too, right? So,
Absolutely.
even as you said, even if it's just in your head and you're believing in yourself, it's a matter of faith. And sometimes that can just elevate people with just that premise alone.
Well, you are what you believe you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you keep telling yourself that you're an actor, you're an actor, you're an actor, you're an actor, and that starts projecting you towards those areas. Or you're an artist, or you're a singer, or a musician, or a dancer, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
An architect.
I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire.
Me too.
There is something. I mean, there's books about that, right? That mindset and that thinking and
power of positive thinking and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were experiments done with people where they changed their hat. A chef's hat, a fireman's hat, a policeman's hat, a robe for a judge, a doctor's uniform with a stethoscope. and the people's behavior would change accordingly, because you start to adapt immediately the costume that you wear. Think of what we do as a human body of energy. We're constantly trying to find identity through decorating ourselves, tattoos, and I got one, so I'm not putting them down. Tattoos, haircuts, makeup, dress, whatever it may be, to call attention to our individuality and how we are. And I'm not making no value judgments here. All I'm doing is trying to identify how we, as filmmakers, when we're working on a project, what we want the audience to see through everything that goes on, the basic construct of their humanity. We are all the same. We all breathe, eat, poop. We all do the same things, period. And that's an objective of our films, is trying to do that. So we cast accordingly. We feel good about that. We don't care if you're a good actor. We don't even care if you got background. I've cast people who've never worked in a film.
Good to know. I'll be sending in a resume here.
Yeah.
The audition is intense, and I will put you through some changes. And if you can follow direction and produce it each time, we'll put you through there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody starts someplace, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
So both you guys are obviously in touch with your spirituality in relation to what you've just told us. Is that the reasoning why you had these two movies with that demonic theme? Is there a specific reason behind that?
Well, with respect, go ahead, David. You're going to say something?
No. You go, Craig.
With respect to The Evil Down the Street, our first film, that family in question, I had known for years, long before ever becoming an indie filmmaker. And it always struck me, this should be a movie, because they were just an ordinary family, that there was nothing special about them. It was a husband and wife, couple of kids, just, pick any random family on your street, if you will. And that would be this family with a very extraordinary occurrence. And so with that said, with Evil Down the Street, and at the time, the backstory on this film, prior to meeting David, I had written the original script. And once David and I were introduced, I sent David the script, and he asked if I'm open to a few notes. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Well, over time, David made so many contributions. I said, you've got it. And I'm at this point, I'm tired of saying thank you. And so he went down as co-writer, and justifiably so. And then we just kind of ratcheted things up where he became a director. And the funny thing was, you mentioned a while ago, the Father Bob character. And so I told him, I said, there's a priest in the film. I said, what do you think about playing that? And David was always open, like, yeah, sure. I think that's a good idea. So, and he was totally on board with, with the story of this family, etc. So that one, certainly it made sense to get it out there for reasons mentioned. Then the other films, well, David, maybe you might want to say something about The Crumbs. Similar story, but The Crumbs also has a most interesting backstory.
Well, getting to your question relative to the spiritual aspects of it, and those two, in particular, Demon Fighter and The Crumbs, what we tried to put into the films is that love is the principal strength of the characters who succeed. Despite the fact that the films are all over the place in terms of their action and what goes on. The Crumbs, as you know, is set in the mountains, basically in the forest, a family who has a bed and breakfast. If you don't have a reservation and you just happen to show up, you're subject to experiments, medical processes that the doctor puts you through. But what that family is really about, it's about a family who's been around for a couple hundred years. He actually invented a serum that prolongs life. where we got the idea was from a crazy family called the Benders, who were killing people at random at a stop in the 1800s, and they never got caught. So the premise of the story was based on that, but I thinking about just some low lifes who were killing people to rip them off. So we wanted to make a film that produced characters that they were disgusting, but can we bring them out in a way in which the audience will identify with them in some sympathetic manner and like them? And some of the best comments I get are about the Crumbs is at the end, people say, these people were just some sick SOBs, but I kind of like them. What's that say about the audience? That's what we were getting at. It's like, this family, they're trying to do something to save their family. Would you not do everything possible you could to save your family? That's the issue. And although they have all kinds of disgusting, idiosyncrasies and, I think psychological disorders, they appear normal. Well, hey, that sounds about right, doesn't it? Our society. I mean, you could probably.
Well, we see that a lot nowadays too. So I mean,
that's right, exactly.
So, thus the Crumbs, and they do what they do, and I won't give away anything in the film if you haven't seen it. We get a lot of comments. It's doing really well. It's maintained a 4.5 on Amazon Prime, but unlike the Crumbs, Demon Fighter deals with a different frustration. What are demons? Are demons some real negative energy that's out there that can absorb you? Let's use that as a premise. Okay, that could be your involvement in alcohol, drugs, food, shopping. I mean, we could go on and on and on with all the different little things that a person could absorb themselves in to where they create a demonic state of mind relative to that thing. And so we wanted to show how someone who, despite their good intentions, that they still got problems. And when I originally wrote the script, we liked it, but it was written a bit differently. And it was actually written with an older priest. I had myself in mind for the part. And then Craig and I both started talking about it. And I said, you know what? Nobody wants to see my old ass doing this. Let's get some young guy in there. Let's get some handsome young guy who's jumping all over the place. And, so we rewrote the script. And I found John Azuna. And I auditioned him. And he had the physical capability. He had the look that I was looking for. I knew he would be able to work as an actor after auditioning him, and I auditioned him pretty intensely. So we went for it, and he did really well. The characters, the people in it, Jeannie Young just nailed it. Robert Crow, N.J. Brown, these people were just so good at what they did. Anastasia, and what's Anastasia's last name, Craig?
Katerina.
I don't know why I forget that. It should be right at the top. Anastasia Katerina. She plays Avalon. She's an incredible actress. All these actors, that's what brought it to life. Jeff Hatch, who plays the demon, he also played the doctor, Dr. Benjamin in The Crumbs.
Yeah.
And you'll love this guy. He's a quality actor. You'll see how he goes from Dr. Benjamin to becoming this demon-infested crazy man, Mr. Stark. So it's for us looking at a film and wanting to embody elements of thematic statement, if you will. That's important for us. But it is, remember, our number one duty and responsibility to the public is to entertain them. Mm-hmm. That is the number one priority, no matter what. I don't care even if they go out there and they say, yeah, that film was all about, did you like those dinosaurs? We're going, what? Did you have fun watching? I loved it. Okay, good enough. But hopefully you see something a little more, a little deeper, and then from that maybe you glean some type of understanding, from it. And that's what we're about. So the long question here, answer, I apologize for that. But it's just not as simple. When you get two old guys like Craig and I, we have a goal of 10 films. We're on film number 5. And we've been doing this for 4.5 years.
Wow.
So we feel like we're on schedule. But remember, our schedule, we're at the, we're pulling the A train into the station here, man. So, the schedule's tight. We
really, our long-term goals, maybe lunch or dinner time. That's about it.
Yeah, my long-term goals on a daily basis is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now, do you kind of prefer the horror genre? Is that kind of what you guys are kind of aiming for? And if so, what kind of drives you towards those types of movies?
You're asking us a marketing question. Craig and I are also business people. We've both done a lot of business in our past, and we're practical, which is how we're able to do these things in the first place. Mm-hmm. The reality is this: horror movies, the genre, has a greater ability to get seen by an audience more so than a lot of other films, genres. You don't have to have a name star, name director. You have to have a good story and good acting and good special effects. People will watch your film. But I'm not a blood and guts guy, not as Craig. I'm more of a psychological thriller person. Mm-hmm. That's where I think fear lies, not in running from somebody who's got a saw he's trying to cut me in half with. Don't get me wrong, that scared the hell out of me. However, you've seen that movie too many times. But the horror genre allows us to create an audience, and we belong to over 1,000 different horror groups.
Yeah.
And they're a fantastic audience. They're loyal. They watch your movie. Even if your movie is horrible, they'll watch it. and they'll make good comments.
Well, some of the best, worst movies were horror movies. I mean, you think about like Evil Dead and things like that were just absolutely awful, but they were just fantastic at the same time,
Right.
That's what's so great about them. And yeah. So
very true, Trevor.
One of our viewers asked a question that I was going to kind of ask as well. John asked, did you have any paranormal experiences before doing any horror films? And are you familiar with the paranormal world? Is it something that you've had experiences before? That you any experiences there?
Well, I told you early on about my grandmother and the Ouija board and all of that. Okay. So as a child, the experience that she had shared was, these were just her guides. And I'll make this a little shorter story, but I was in my early 20s. And this other person, I were using the Ouija board. And we had a third person writing down all the letters. And to really cut down on this story, the board just went off on this girl, and it was horrible. I mean, it was just horrific. And any of these films, Ouija board and all of that, I mean, that's all just special effects nonsense. And this, literally the hairs on your arms would stand up. And at the conclusion of this, I said, let's say the Lord's Prayer, try to simmer this thing down. And we were maybe 80% through, Trevor. And the house that we were at, they had a large beam across the ceiling. And you heard this crack. I can't even describe it. It sounded like it was like a 4x6, like it was splintered. And we both looked at each other and then looked up. and everything was still intact. And that's the last time I ever came in contact with the Ouija board. I've had other I've had other experiences, but when I think of one that just kind of stands out, if you will, that one certainly did. That I'll just say we tapped into a negative energy force or field that was evil on every level. Evil on every level.
Yeah, those are crazy. I don't mess with Ouija boards myself. So
yeah, I would advise that to anybody. Yeah, it's not a Parker Brothers game as other games you would imagine.
No, they're not.
I had experienced as an adult, not too long ago, as a matter of fact. I was relocating from Maui, my family in 2008 after the crash and all that business. And a firm I had been associated with wanted me to come back and take over this area of the office, a law firm, take over an area of an office in downtown San Jose. And I was going to live in North San Jose. It's an older section, a lot of old Victorian homes and whatnot. So I had somebody find a home for me. It was a nice place, a Victorian home, and it actually had another little side unit as well in the back. And my daughter was going to stay there. We were coming back from Maui. And we moved into this place, and my daughter was in her room. My wife and I were sitting on the sofa, and we're just watching the TV. No big deal. I think it was the news or something. And we hear a girl's voice sounding like my daughter saying, "Daddy, come here." And I said, I looked at my wife and I said, "Isn't she?" I thought she was in the room back there. My wife goes, "She is." And I go, "Did you hear that?" She goes, "Yeah, maybe she came inside." I said, "Well, let me go look." So I get up and I go to the side and I open this door where this other room is. There's nobody in there. And I come back and I go, "Okay, that's weird. There's nobody there." We sit down and we hear it again. "Daddy, come here." I go, "Okay." I get up, I walk to the back where my daughter is at, and there she is. And I said, "Honey, did you come in the house?" And she goes, "No, I've been sitting right here. I'm doing this homework stuff." I go, "Okay." I lived there 17 days. I called the people right out immediately. I'm like, "No, not doing this at all." The place was just creepy, but it was like 4 blocks from my office, and I could walk there, and I'm a walker, so it was like perfect for me. I said, "Oh, I could just walk. I could walk home for lunch. This would be great." No, moved all the way to South San Jose. 10 miles away.
David, wasn't this a house or something that also happened in the kitchen?
Yeah. It's weird. This house was just so weird. We didn't think nothing of this, though. We were cooking, and we had turned off everything because I like to cook a lot. Both my wife and I, we both cook, and I'm really paranoid about fire, and I'm always checking. And I turned off the burners. It was those old gas burners. I remember this is an old Victoria style house. So the old gas burners, I turn it off, we leave, and I hear the tick, tick, tick. I go back there and it's on. I'm going, no. This place just kept weirding us out. I'm looking out my door. There's a bunch of turkeys coming through. Where I live in Fair Oaks, California, it's in like a forest area. There's always a flock of turkeys running around outside or in my backyard or something. See, I'm being followed.
Evil turkeys.
Yeah.
Like again.
They're really spirits. They're manifesting.
That's awesome.
Anyway, but yeah, those are the most recent experiences I've ever had in my life. As a kid, we used to scare the hell out of each other doing things. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. There was a lot of old stuff going on there. We lived in some old houses, and we used to tell stories, all the regular stories. But one of the ones that really, I think, sank to heart the most for me was the story of the Weeping Woman, La Llorona, a story about a woman who drowns her children for the love of a man who jilts her. And she goes crazy. God condemns her to roam the riverways for life, forever, in search of her children, which she never finds. So if you go down to the creek at night and you hear some wailing woman, leave her alone because it's La Llorona and she's going to drown you. So, of course, we stayed out of the creeks at night. Okay. But, yeah, I think as an adult, spooky incidents, if you will, scary moments, have a much greater impact than as a child. As a child, you grow out of it and start to understand, well, okay, it was this. We were scared the hell out of each other. But when that stuff happened when we were shooting Evil Down the Street, that stuff was all real. That happened. There was a swing outside. Craig, it was still of day. There was no wind blowing. This wooden swing, all of a sudden, we're standing there. People are walking, looking around because we're waiting for setup to occur. Everybody's freezing. We're all bundled up. And we're looking out this window, and this swing just starts going.
Wow.
Everybody's going, okay, where are we?
Right.
It was an old abandoned reform school. So, I'm sure there was some hostile energy there that never left.
Wow. So I'm really curious, doing what you do, what do you watch to be entertained? Do you watch horror movies, or are you like, oh, I'm going to sit around and watch reruns of Bonanza? Like, what do you watch?
It would be the more latter of the two.
You got something against Little Joe? What?
Yeah, that well, like last night, I watched a good movie on Tubi TV. I love Tubi TV. And it was The Double with Richard Gere. And I won't give it away, but it was a really good movie. Kind of a spy caper, if you will. So, I kind of drift into that area. Now, David, I'll just speak for him. He is big time into rom-coms. He likes romantic comedies.
I was going to say, one of you's got to be a Hallmark channel person, right?
Yeah, he'll talk to me what he saw on Hallmark or Lifetime. I'll say, and I'll shut that down real fast. Come on, man.
You said you weren't going to tell.
Yeah.
So now.
I'm sorry, man. It just slipped out. I don't know.
I watch all kinds of stuff. I love a lot of different kinds of movies, sci-fi, horror, westerns, good action movie I'll watch, murder, whodunit. I like to watch some of the not reality shows, but like Ancient Aliens, or Tales of the Supernatural, things like that are hosted by scientists or something like that. I like to watch those things because they get me to thinking about the possibilities. A lot of the horror movies that are out there are redundant in their plots and their themes, and they get boring. And to watch people get chopped up is not my thing. The movies that bothered me the most in my life when I first saw them was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Last House on the Left, because they were something that really happened. Last House on the Left was a horrific, horrendously ugly ass movie.
Yeah.
It was played for the reality. It was very upsetting because it really happened. Again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It upset me. So I'm a bit of an empath, and so at times it's difficult to watch. I can't watch movies where they're beating and murdering women and children and raping them and I can't watch that. I have no interest in seeing anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. If in a film that circumstance happens to be necessary to carry the film thematically and plot structure-wise, then I understand it and I have a problem with it. But for the sake of just doing it, we got Leatherface running around in 5 films just chopping people up. What's up with that?
Yeah.
That kind of plot it's old now. I mean, they've been doing it since I don't know, like since the 70s, and
it's like the superhero movies.
Yeah,
they're the same movie.
Oh yeah, all of them.
They're all the same movie, and so I can't go to a theater and watch that.
Well, anymore it feels like all they do is, they got to have gratuitous nudity and sex and stuff, and they try to draw an audience, and it adds nothing to the story, and that drives me crazy. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, anything that can just I can sit back and go, whoa, I didn't see that. Those are the kind of movies that I really enjoy to watch. I'd take that any day. Anything with a great plot twist or something that just really makes you just, holy cow, this is cool. I love movies where I tell people that it's like, you really need to pay attention to this so you can understand how this is going to, what happens here, so I think that's great.
You said something interesting, the selling of a film based on like sex, for example. You're absolutely right. Those are very pretentious scenes. They're pandering. And the only time I've ever seen a scene like that work really well is in James Bond movies, because he's always having sex with the enemy spy who he's going to get information from and kill her. It adds plot, theme,
you got to further the plot there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It hits all the buttons, but absent that, there's really none. I mean, it's like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, oh, okay, now we're going to watch this. What? Exactly. I'm with you. It doesn't. It's a waste of the public's time.
I agree. I like it that when you were talking about how you were making your films, the thought processes, and that it's sort of it's a many-leveled thing, and I love that. It's like me sitting down with my nephew's son and watching Bugs Bunny. I mean, he watches it and he loves it because of what it is. It's a funny rabbit who says, "What's up, Doc?" And I love it because I get it. There's that other level. And I love the fact that. And you can make a horror movie like that, right? It's entertainment, but there's thought behind it. And if you're really a thinker, you will understand the nuances, that subtlety. I love that. I mean, thank you for that.
Well, something, we did a film called Love and Quarantine. It's a comedy, a horromedy, okay, if you will. And it's about the current time, Love and Quarantine, what's gone on. It was shot right during the height of the quarantine. We shot it, as a matter of fact, in the middle of shooting Demon Fighter. We come up with this idea for Love and Quarantine. We wrap Demon Fighter at the shoot, go home, write the script for Love and Quarantine, shoot it, and produce it right away.
Wow.
So we had 2 films in post-production, Demon Fighter and Love and Quarantine. Now, Love and Quarantine, we hope, deals with the issues as you've just discussed them on a variety of levels, even though they're in your face. These are people who are frustrated over the mundane things that we all accept as normal with each other, the idiosyncrasies and the pet peeves that bother the hell out of us if it's every day. So that's what this film's about. It's doing really well as well. You can see that on Amazon Prime, Tubi TV, and it's doing, I think, about a 4.5. Now, fortunately, and I feel proud about this, Demon Fighter has been maintaining 5 stars on Prime TV. Amazon Prime. So
that's really good.
Yeah. I'm going to be watching that one tonight. I have a daughter. She's a horror film fanatic. She loves it.
Oh, cool, Trevor.
So I'm planning that was going to be
How
my
old is she?
tonight. She's 18.
Oh,
so
okay, yeah.
Right on.
That should be old enough to watch the movie, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
There's some rough scenes in it.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll preview it first.
They're not that rough, but they're more psychologically rough, socially rough.
Perfect.
I'm like I said, I'm not a free shot, so I don't like to exploit. Craig and I, we feel strong about this when we're shooting. We don't like to exploit women, the sexuality, or anything else. We don't like to make statements about what you should believe or think.
So great.
We like to put it out there, and hopefully somebody gets the idea. They think about it, pondering it of such.
And that's great because nobody wants to be told what to believe. Nobody wants to be told
exactly right
what to think. Like you said, I go to a movie, I want to be entertained. I want my mind blown. I want something that's gonna make me think about things, and and hopefully just confuse the heck out of me at the end. Just whoa.
Do you remember First Blood?
Oh yeah.
So okay. Remember the ending scene after he shot everything to hell and he blew it all up, and they sit there and he starts the whole monologue about woe is me and life is bad and why did you do this?
Killed the movie.
He should have shut the hell up. Pardon my language.
Killed the movie.
He killed the movie. That monologue killed the movie.
Well, you couldn't understand half the words he was saying anyway, too. So.
Exactly. And the half you did, you didn't care. So
yeah, you didn't care. After a while, it's like, oh, please give this guy a lollipop and put him in the corner.
Yeah. I during the pandemic, I was trying to find good movies to watch, and I was so sick and tired of Hollywood, doing their thing where it was like, here, this we're gonna make a statement, and we're gonna, push a political agenda or whatever. And then I finally sat and watched Kong versus Godzilla, and I'm like, this is the greatest movie ever because it was just fun. It was just a fun movie to watch, and so
I was with that movie up until they started becoming buddies at the end.
Yeah,
and it's almost like, all right, man, that's your territory, no problem. Hey, I'll see you on the west side.
Yeah,
all right, take it easy. Yeah,
that's a little too much.
So I just have a quick question. So growing up, I mean, I was raised pretty much on Hitchcock. My mom was a huge Hitchcock fan. Took me to tons of movies. I mean, I was in my stroller watching The Birds. I remember. So horror movies for me were, this was something I literally grew up on, and it took a lot to really kind of affect me. I guess it was the slash and gore that I just didn't want anything to do with because of the fact that, Hitchcock, even Stephen King. I mean, there was always that psychological premise behind it, right? Did you guys have any, I guess, horror horror creators that you admired or that you I guess took a look at, going back when you're creating your own, or are there any I guess heroes of the horror world that you guys enjoy? Is the best way to say it. Not heroes, but you know what I'm getting at. Any directors that you guys had really admired?
Well, it's funny that you already mentioned it. Hitchcock is a favorite
for both of us.
Yeah.
He creates terror in your mind. His style, his approach to simplicity, just amazing stuff. But then again, you mentioned like Stephen King's movies. Cujo.
Yeah.
Cujo.
I think Cujo scared me from dogs for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah, totally understandable.
That was an intense film.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dunes and the other films were interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But Cujo was real.
Yes, yeah. Cujo, it always had that element of this could happen. And that's really what Hitchcock had as well in a lot of his movies, right? The Birds, Psycho. I mean, these are things that, were just, I mean, maybe not The Birds, I don't know, although you look outside and you see a bunch of like sparrows in your tree, you kind of go, oh, I don't know if I'm going outside today.
Well, think also about his situations relative to his characters. Hitchcock liked to put things on the edge, over the top.
Right.
He wasn't about ordinary everyday life.
Yeah.
He was about, let's take the ordinary and put it into extraordinary circumstances and situations, thus The Birds. Yeah. Okay. Even another film he did called The Rope. I don't know if you've ever seen it. He's got have you seen it? The Rope? Okay.
Yeah.
Now you know what that's about, how these guys decide they can get away with a murder. And they kill one of their fellow schoolmates and stick him in a box. And then they have a party, decorate the box full of food and whatnot, and have a party over it. Jimmy Stewart's in the movie, a couple other really excellent actors. And there's only 2 cuts in the film.
Yeah.
The entire film. And that was the magic of the film. So they rehearsed it, I think, as a stage play would rehearse. Okay, right. Walking through it, hitting their marks. Everybody knows where they're at. And then he pushed it. You can catch one of the cuts. The second cut is a little more difficult to find. You got to watch it. Because what he does is he cuts like on a door edge or on something that you can't tell. So if I have a still something like this, and I bring the camera to it right here, and I cut right at that moment right there, you won't see it. It'll be as seamless. It looks like it's still moving right past it. And he does stuff like that, but it looks so slick. It's really slick. And the actors are just awesome. And that's what it takes. So in The Crumbs, I'm just going to go back to this because in The Crumbs, the opening scene takes place starting in a car that's driving down a road. Then they pull into the cabin area. They get out of the car. They go to the front door of the cabin. They bang on the door. It goes upstairs. We see the lady saying, "I wonder who that is." She comes downstairs. We see her coming downstairs. She comes to the door. She opens it. They come inside. They hold her hostage. The doctor comes down. The daughter comes down. They get them. They tie everybody up. They knock out the servant who comes into the door. The girl goes upstairs. One of the freaks goes upstairs to rape her. The servant wakes up, storms, goes up the stairs, strangles the guy, gets the girl, brings her downstairs, goes to the closet, pulls out a big old club, goes outside to the door. That was one take.
Wow.
That entire sequence that I just went through, we shot it in one take. We set multiple cameras around. We put a guy in the car with the camera who got out and tracked them and they went. So, yeah, Hitchcock's a big influence. And the reason we did that, and here's a lot of the reasons with Hitchcock. You wear actors out over and over and over, another take, another take, another take. Usually their best energy is in their first 2-3 takes. If you don't get it in those, you're probably not going to get it.
You're not going to get it.
Yeah, unless you just want to reset angles or something like that, or you're doing inserts or something, close-up stuff. But if you want to get something really fresh and hot, you get them when that energy's flying. We were so excited at the end of that take. The entire cast and crew, we're talking like 30, 40 people who were on set in the middle of the night, broke off into applause. I mean, it was just, the energy was like, wow, I can't believe we just shot this. We did this. When you see the film, The Crumbs, the opening scene, just keep that in mind. That's one take, the entire scene, all the way up until Leonard with the bat goes to the back door and leaves. Then we cut it because we had to go outside to do something else.
Awesome.
But, yeah, I love Hitchcock's work. I'm also into gangster films, so I like Scorsese, sci-fi. So, Spielberg. There's so many great, directors out there.
Well, Jaws. I mean, Jaws in itself, as far as a horror film,
you love a shark, Cathy, didn't you? You like
that kept me from oceans forever, ever. Like I am, I want to clarify something for people who like. With when I was saying that my mom used to take me as in a stroller to the Hitchcock films. We had a theater that used to play the Hitchcock films once a month. So every month they had a new one. And my mom was, when she was younger, loved the Hitchcock films. Wanted to clarify that in case people were thinking I was like 100 years old or something. So
no, never.
Well, to put your mind a little bit at ease. I was
Geriatric Film Society.
And I remember watching it as a child, so that's going to make you feel somewhat good.
So we got to wrap it up now because we just run it. We're actually running over. Got two questions. One question before you go. What's next for you guys? What do you got on the horizons? Are you allowed to share, or is it kind of hush hush?
What do you think, David?
Well, we got 3 scripts on the cooker. We actually have a few more, including a Western. And we have one that we really, really enthusiastic about called Preacher that we've been batting around for a while. Another piece that we are excited about. But they're different genres. Preacher is a horror type film, psychological horror film, and the other one's a comedy and one's more of a war type film. You asked about what we do, why. Well, we're business people, and we understand that our public is what's important. So we're trying to make films that people will like and want to see.
Right.
You know, where we're at depends upon a lot of stuff, but we will be making a decision shortly.
Fantastic. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, Peter, Trevor, and
inviting us.
all.
Good.
Yeah.
No, it's been really good. Really good questions, and yeah, no, you guys have been great. Thank you guys for tuning in, and if you like the show and you like the content, please subscribe to our I Want to Believe channel and click on notifications. Greatly
Absolutely.
appreciated. Thank you, guys.
It was such a pleasure to meet
for
you guys.
watching.
Thank you, ladies.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to meet you. Bye-bye.
And we'll be back next week with another episode of the I Want to Believe show. Have a great week, guys.